Nuno and João are partners from the Walking Mentorship, and they bring the inside look in the life of the people they walk with. The podcast Keep Walking With Me searches for potential solutions towards the best version of ourselves. Every month, we walk together with a guest. There is a disclaimer that needs to be shared. After listening to this program, you might feel the urge to step outside and go for a long walk. But don't worry, that is absolutely normal. Welcome to the podcast Keep Walking With Me. Today we have another very special guest walking and talking with us. So let's start and ask, in a nutshell, who is Joe Pine?
Well, thanks for that opportunity, Joao. And I'm an author, speaker, management advisor. I've written many books, most famous, and particularly for your audience, with The Experience Economy, that describes how goods and services are no longer enough. What people want are experiences. And then just in February, I came out with my latest book, The Transformation Economy, recognizing that even beyond experiences, more economic value can be created by helping people achieve their aspirations. That's what a transformation is. And I'll mention also that right now I'm on vacation on Hilton Head Island in South Carolina, which is why it's sort of not my normal. I got big bookcases in my office, background in that. And almost immediately after we're done, Joao and Nuno, I'm going for a walk with my wife on one of the best beaches in South Carolina.
Well,
Sounds amazing.
we won't keep you for too long, so you can enjoy your walk. But do let us pick a little bit your brain. So when you look back and when you wrote The Experience Economy, what do you feel you got right, and what do you feel you underestimated and maybe led you to now the transformation economy?
I think I got everything right. Jim Gilmore and I, we wrote that. There's not a word, not a word of a concept, an idea, a principle, a framework that we got wrong. There were some of the examples that we talked about that didn't make it, right? That died, went bankrupt and so forth, or that limps along or even commoditized themselves. Which often happens when you have these periods of economic shift. There's a lot of innovation going on, and not everybody is going to make it. But the ones that do become the leaders of the next economy. And so we updated it both in 2011 and in 2020. We took out some examples. We added a lot of examples. We added some new ideas and frameworks. There's a lot more that's not in the book, but also. The idea of the transformation economy was in the first book, right? From the moment I discovered it in 1994, I recognized that it's not just experience, it's about transformative experiences, about transformations. And so the last two chapters about that. And so people have been asking me, for what is that now, 27 years? When am I going to write the full book on transformations? And I always said, well, there's two issues. One, I don't know enough about it. And two, the world's not ready for it. And that's what changed. The world is now ready for the transformation economy. You see that exemplified in people like yourselves and the Transformation Travel Council and Transformational Travel Council and all the things that are going on that the time is right now to understand about transformations.
Wow, that's really inspiring, and actually, I think a good segue for my next question, which is, are we truly in an experience economy today, or do you think we already moved beyond into something else? It's a big world, I know.
We've certainly gone beyond the service economy. It's supplanted the industrial economy and the agrarian economy. When in 1999 we talked about the nascent, the forthcoming, the emerging experience economy. In 2011 we said, okay, it's here, and I think that still is the case. And partly, it's particularly the case if you count both experiences and transformations, because again, transformations are all based off of experiences. We only ever change through the experiences that we have, so it's very closely intertwined. Those two together both predominate over regular services, and have become the predominant economic offering. So I would say it's a combination of the experience and transformation economy. I never really laid that out in the new book, but that's the way I do think about it. That together, this is it. This is what's going on, and services are now being commoditized as well as goods were.
Yeah, thank you.
Well, one concept that made me wonder, and I do relate to it, which is the idea that every business is a stage.
Yeah.
Um, but well, in our case, the stage is nature, and it's pretty much unscripted. When you go with a bunch of people walking and
Yeah.
prompting them with reflection ideas, and then the weather you cannot control, the routes change, and people are unique. So
Yes.
how do you think that equates within the idea that a business is a stage?
Yeah, so I mean, you've got the best stage in the world. You've got God's creation out there
Hmm.
in nature, walking
Agreed.
through it. And the fact that you're there, it does spark different conversations than it would otherwise.
Hmm.
It leads people to think differently, to open themselves up. There's research that shows that when we travel is when we're most open to change as well,
Hmm.
that we get out of our quotidian lives and open ourselves up to new places, new vistas, new people, that we become open to change. And that is not just true of, okay, we're going to go to another country and we're going to walk in another country, and so forth. It's even like walking down the beach, right? Just we get
Hmm.
normally we don't do that at home. We're in this environment. We're going for a walk, and things can happen that let us recognize that there's something there, something more, greater possibility. That's particularly true if, as part of your walking tours, you engineer what I call encapsulation of an experience. Encapsulation, which is again very well academically grounded. It's just my word for doing preparation beforehand, reflection afterward, and integration on an ongoing basis. And the preparation beforehand can simply be the beginning moments of the walk, right? To get people out into nature, to let them look around, let them see, and then to ask them, some opening questions perhaps on what's going on in their lives, what transformation journey they may already be on, what initial thoughts does nature spark in you? And then at the end of the walk, get them to reflect. And I think this is the most important aspect, is to reflect on what happened. What were the highlights of nature, but also of the conversation? What were the things that
Hmm.
struck you in a very personal way? What are the things that maybe make you think that there's something that I want to work on in myself based on what I've learned during this walk? And reflection will automatically, retroactively increase the value of the experience that you have, including the
Hmm.
walk. If you just get people to reflect on it, it'll cement the memories. They'll think more about the highlights. They'll forget the low lights if there are any. And then integration is the toughest thing. But
Hmm.
then it's to help them on an ongoing basis, thinking about, okay, during this walk, you said, hey, you really wanted to work on X, Y, and Z. How's that going? How can we help you with that? Or the things that we can use to guide you? And I love that, Nuno, that in transformational travel, right? It's you think about guides that are taking you through places, and guides often think of themselves as guiding the place, right? We're guiding you to
Hmm.
the place, showing you this, showing you that. In your case,
Hmm.
particularly, you're guiding the people. And that's,
Hmm.
but in all transformational travel destinations, they should think about you're not a guide of the place, you're a guide of the people, right? That's the economic
Hmm.
function of a transformation, to guide them in achieving
Hmm.
their aspirations, in becoming who they want to become, in flourishing as human beings.
Hmm.
Well,
Well,
that's sorry, no, go ahead.
no, sorry. It's really interesting because you mentioned it's very frequently our first question is how do you feel today, and
Yeah.
that's how we prompt them to start
Right, right, very good.
reflecting. And we always have an exercise which is highlight of the day.
Yeah,
So essentially at the end of each day we invite people to look back at their day and reflect on that, and
exactly.
sometimes do some sharing. And it is such a simple thing, truly, but
Yes.
it can be so impactful.
Yeah.
It's interesting, but definitely the integration, that's the, I would say, both the key and the hardest.
Correct, correct, and it's the one that most people are in companies who even think they're in the transformation business don't always do. Right, it's the
Mhm,
one thing they forget, and that's where the most value lies,
mhm,
actually, not just for you as a company, but for your
For
aspirants, right? The
yeah.
guests of your experience.
Definitely.
Absolutely. And actually, I mean, Joe, you say that companies compete for time, for attention, and money.
Yep.
And today, well, attention, we know that it's quite fragmented, probably like never before.
Right. Excuse me a
So
second. I just got a text. I want to say. Oh, okay. Yeah. All right. Go ahead.
I will repeat. No worries.
No, I was just teasing you.
Oh, I loved it. Well, so it's true, right? So
Right.
maybe a bit of a provoking thought, which is, are we designing experience? And when I say we, at a broader scale,
Yeah.
or are we just competing for distraction, taking into consideration that,
Right.
attention is so fragmented? What do
Right.
you think?
Attention is so fragmented. It's just unbelievable, all the possibilities out there. And so you've got to grab hold of people. And the only way to do that is with an experience so engaging that they can't help but pay attention, right? That's the key. Although I do remember when the smartphone first came out, my guidance to people was the last thing you want is for somebody to take their phone out in your experience, right? It means that they've gone out of your experience and they're someplace else. But then with the rise of Instagram and TikTok and all these things, for most people, they cannot help but want to take pictures and videos. It's just ingrained in them today. And so you want to actually provide opportunities for that. You want to direct that in some way, recognize it's going to happen, make it part of the experience. Even, Nuno, to your questions about reflection, that was like, is to think back on the photographs and videos you took. What was the one that you think impacted you most? Why did you take that particular picture? And sort of integrate it into what you're doing so that it becomes part of it. And if you're going on multiple day walking tours, right, then once that happens the first day, you get them to be more intentional about it. We did, Jim Gilmore and I, we used to run these annual events called Think About. And we did it for 20 years. We moved to different cities in the US. And one we did in Washington, D.C., we took everybody, we had 60, 70 people there. We took them to the Washington Memorial, and we asked them to take one picture. You're only allowed one picture, right? To get them to be intentional about what did they want this picture to exhibit. And I think you could even do that sometime maybe if you're doing for a whole day, you can't do that, but you could say you only get to leave with one picture. Right? That any picture you take, you have to delete the previous picture. So because you don't know when it's going to be the best picture. So you can say, okay, you can take it, but if you find a better one, then you got to delete the other one. You only get to go home with one and see how very intentional then they become.
That's a perfect segue, because here we are not going to ask you to choose only one song, but actually we're going to give you the chance to choose three. So maybe this is a great opportunity for you, Joe, to give us your first song, and maybe you want to tell us why.
Sure. So three very different genres of music. So first of all, and I like, I like classical, jazz, new age, and so forth. But I'll say my favorite piece of music in the entire world is Tchaikovsky's Sixth Symphony.
All
It's
right.
it's it's when I first heard it, I was just blown away. It's just an amazing piece. The way it ends is, and you got to listen very hard. You got to be intentional about it at the ending. I've listened to it so many times. I can basically hum or sing or da 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 to every single part that everyone is doing. And there's some better versions than others. But it's just a piece of music that grabs your soul, and even though it ends in despair.
Well, let's ride with Tchaikovsky.
Well, thank you so much for such a beautiful song. Really takes us traveling in reality. Um, Connecting still to what we were talking about, attention and how it is being permanently sought after by so many companies, so many distractions, in fact, that just want us to. The best analogy I can think of, it's Hotel California. I mean,
Mm.
you can check out, but you can never leave. So
Right,
you're
right.
stuck there. And in reality, how is it needed that we create conditions for people to reclaim their own attention and to actually decide where to look at? As you were mentioning one example, directing that, demanding just one picture. But
Mhm.
are there other strategies that you would think are valuable to help us do that?
Yeah, it is a very difficult thing. I think that to get them to understand the benefits of focus is a key thing. Get them to understand the detriments of diverting their attention
Mhm.
is an important thing. And to show them that there's another way, that it's actually possible, to put away your phone and not be on it, to just be there, be present. Talk about every business a stage. Which means that all workers are actors, right? They're acting on
Mhm.
your business stage, and it's not a metaphor, that it's not work as theater. It's a model. Work is theater. So one of the basic acting techniques that you'll learn anywhere is be there in the moment, be present. Different names it goes by, but being there. And if you can get people to just be there, to be present, not just again with the nature, but with everyone else who is there and be attuned to them. And so I think it's a matter of explaining that, but also it's like a flywheel. You got to get them to experience a little at a time, and then it'll grow and grow and grow. So get them to do it for moments. Another thing we did at a Think About event once on a beach in Del Mar, California, is we had everybody, say it was go down to the beach and do nothing, right? Just do nothing. And people can't do that, right?
No.
It drives them crazy to think about even doing it. One guy said, "Oh, okay, I can take a nap." We said, "No, napping is something. Do nothing, right?" And just to see what had happened. We had a theme of like do something, do everything, do anything, do nothing. Sort of what we went through. So
That's
just just like 5-10 minutes, but get them to
No.
then bring that back to what they're doing.
Now that always reminds me. It was already a few years, many years ago, actually. We had an incredible, let's say, call it student in one of our programs. It was a lady that was so committed to all the exercise every day, and every day everybody will take 4, 5, 6 hours. After 1 hour, she would have all the materials filled in, everything. And one day, was already almost the last part of the program. She came to us after lunch and she said, "Okay, everything is done. So what should I do now?" And I think, I don't know, maybe me or Noon just said, just do nothing. And she went away. And then after half an hour, she returned super upset, very nervous. She said, "I have no idea how I can do nothing."
Right, right.
And and this was actually, yeah, to your point. I'm not sure we are wired
Yeah,
for this kind of experience, which,
right.
by the way, and take it as a mild provocation, can authenticity be designed, or is that
Yes.
some kind of contradiction?
Well, it's another book that I wrote, right? Jim and I wrote Authenticity, What Consumers Really Want. And we say basically that all economic offerings are fake, right? Ontologically, in their being, they're all fake. Won't go into the details, but phenomenologically, people can perceive them as real. And so that's what you have to do, is have to get them to perceive your offerings as real. And even like if you're walking in nature, if you're charging for that experience, you just commodified nature, and it's no longer real in the same way that it was before. So there's a lot that you can do, however, to make people perceive what is going on as real, which basically just means creating a sympathetic vibration that goes back and forth between them and the offering. that says, yes, that's who I am. All right, that we align together, which also relates to transformation because all transformation is identity change, right? That identity, and that's what that alignment, that sympathetic vibration, yeah, that's who I am, and I want to become, even more of that, or that's not yet who I am, but I can see now that's who I want to become. And so you could that from that point of authenticity, you can then help guide them in changing their identity.
Thank you.
Well, we do. I did feel that as a provocation in the sense that one of the aspects we always do in our programs is actually we go through the process as all the participants. So we're prompting the reflections, but we're actually doing the reflections ourselves. Of course, when you do it 30 times a year,
Right.
you don't do it in the same way as if you did it once, and obviously the impact and the experience is different. And we do very much make an effort to be real, to be authentic. Um, but maybe the answer is there. If we're making an effort, then it's no longer real. It's already fabricated.
I was going to point that out, right? If you gotta act like, right, it can
Uh-huh.
take away from that level of authenticity versus just being.
Mhm. Yeah,
Yes.
yeah.
No,
That's an interesting perspective. Yeah. Uh,
Yeah.
well, looking at the way we transform people, I don't think we transform people. In the best case scenario, we create conditions for transformation.
That's
Um,
exactly right, Nuno. The people only ever transform themselves. You are just the
yeah,
guide.
that I have no doubt about that.
Yeah.
Um, but when we do that, what is let's say the ethical limit where we can push people
Yeah.
into that transformation and where we shouldn't push them into that transformation? Where
Yeah.
would
Yeah.
you see that?
Yeah, I was thinking that one response people will say is, well, no, no, you can force people to change. I said, well, yeah, you can brainwash them, but there's no ethical way in the world that you can change somebody. You can create slaves, right? You can
Mhm,
do
mhm,
prisoners and so forth. But
mhm,
in terms of being ethical and moral about it, that no, you can't do that. So, where exactly that line is. I don't know, but it can be out there because, like, I often point out, like, a difference between fitness centers and personal trainers. That fitness
mhm,
centers are happy to take your monthly membership fee, means their experience because you're paying for time,
mhm.
and be happy that you never show up, right? Because they think they're making
yeah.
more money.
The best
Whereas a
clients.
personal
Yeah.
trainer will say, no, 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 you got to force up, right? They'll get on you, and it's what you're hiring them for. So it's
Mhm,
not necessarily that you have to be all nice about it and can't really push. And you think
mhm,
about there's some psychotherapy. There's really pushing people too.
mhm,
So there's eventually going to be a line, but it's out there depending on what the aspiration that you have.
mhm.
Which makes me wonder, what do you think differentiates a memorable experience from a life-changing one? Is that something that should happen, can happen, that makes that click?
Yeah, So actually, one of the things I discovered in writing the book is that there are actually four levels of experience. There are memorable experiences that engage who you are. There are meaningful experiences that connect with who your identity and who you are in some way. There are, and this may be, the fundamental business that you're in. There are transporting experiences where you get people out of who they are, where they are in awe of God's creation, where they get into flow, where they have a transcendent or euphoric experience. And then there are the transformative ones that change who you are. So the biggest difference is that it lasts, right? The residue of a memorable experience is that memory, which will, has a half-life. It will tend to dissipate over time.
Mhm.
With the transformation, the change has to last. It's part of the value. It has to sustain through time to be a true transformation.
Wow. Well, then maybe you can give us a help and pick up your second song to help us on our internal transformation.
Yeah, okay. My second song, my favorite jazz artist, Dave Grusin, contemporary jazz. His most famous and best song, I think, is "Mountain Dance." And I think it's of the Colorado Rocky Mountains and thinking about dancing along the mountains. It's like taking a walking tour, right? Except you're dancing in the mountains, and it's just a beautiful piece. The way he plays the piano in it, but the way the drummer, does the cymbals when it gets quiet, and just like you think the song's over, and he starts it again with this. So it's just beautiful.
All right,
Let's take that walk, huh? Well, thank you for that beautiful song. Totally different, but a beautiful walk on the mountains, which is always close to our heart. Um, I'm wondering, in this world where AI is becoming more and more prevalent, where people are constantly, they're guiding their lives through AI, how do you see that relating to transformation and more intentional, more thoughtful lives?
Well, AI is an amazing and wonderful tool, right? And
Hmm.
that's what it is. It's a tool. I don't think it's going to ever be capable of artificial general intelligence. I'm not worried about the Terminator scenario with AI. I'm more worried about the Wall-E scenario. If you know that
Hmm.
Pixar film where
Hmm.
basically they
Yeah.
let AI do everything for them and they sit around fat, dumb, and happy, weighing 400 pounds and barely being able to walk. That's the scenario I worry
Yeah.
about.
Yeah.
But it is a wonderful tool for so many things with transformation. So first of all, you can use AI to customize to individuals. And it's how I discovered the progression of economic value is through my first book, Mass Customization, where I recognized that customizing a good automatically turns into a service. Then, oh, what does it turn a service into? Well, it's an experience. And what does it turn an experience into? Well, it's a life transforming experience, a transformation. So that's how I discovered that full progression of economic value. And so AI can remember people's preferences. They can remember who they are. They can make suggestions. They can analyze everything and are great at being able to help design the set of customized experiences it takes to go from where somebody is today to what they want to become. And in particular, it can create, in chapter 5 of the book, I talk about transformation platforms. We're using AI and digital technology to be able to basically call the experiences that are needed at this moment in time. So you can sense and respond to what's going on and make them happen immediately. AI is also very good at guiding. It does a good job of coaching, and you don't want to replace human coaches and human guides, but it can fill in the parts in between, knowing what the guy, what your aspiration is, where the guide's take you, knowing what's going on in your life at this moment. Then it can do a great job of that as well. It's also great at visualizing, to be able to visualize. And research shows that if you can visualize your future self, that you make better decisions today. So you can visualize scenarios of people that who they say, "Oh, I want this transformation. They want to go from X to Y." Okay, well then let's visualize what Y is for you, and you get that. Say, "Wow, how wonderful that would be if I were that way, if I were doing those things, if I were being that way." And now I'm going to do a better job today of making sure that that future happens because I've envisioned it so well versus just saying it in words.
Well, on that note, so since AI is going to make your life and our lives so much easier, and we'll have more time for something else, what do you think it's the one experience every human being should have in their lifetime? If you could pick one experience.
Well, the one experience that every human being should have is to know God, is to accept Jesus Christ into their heart and be able to live with Him and be able to walk with Him. And I think that's the one experience that every human being should have. Maybe not what you expected, but it's what's absolutely needed.
Wow. Thank you
Well,
for sharing.
I think it's one of the natural things when we do pilgrimages. It's regardless of your religious belief, you will connect to your spirituality. And when you connect with God, or when we actually, this was my tongue slip. I was going to say when you connect with nature, but in reality, what's the
Right.
difference? I mean, there can be no difference there.
Right. That's why
Um,
I call it God's creation, right? Connecting with God.
mhm.
Yeah.
So with all the things, I mean, with all the experience you have and all the books you've written, what are you still curious about these days? What is spiking your curiosity, calling your attention?
I'm the sort of guy I'm always asking what's next, what's going on, and it's different levels. I do believe, and explain this most thoroughly at the end and the afterword to the experience economy, the encore there, that there are no economic offerings after transformations. That's
Mhm.
it, 5 economic offerings. because you can't commoditize transformations because the customer is the product. If you customize them, well, how can you further customize transformation? The only thing I think if you can perfect people, and that's not the province of mankind, that's the province of God in sanctifying people. So I think that's it. But then how does that play out in the future as commodities, goods, and services continue to diminish? And obviously, what is AI going to mean? I believe as a tool that it is going to create more jobs than it destroys. It is absolutely going to destroy jobs, but it's more about intelligent augmentation, IA, than artificial intelligence, AI. So to help figure out how that's going to play out. And there's just so many things that can be done in the transformation economy. So just to continue expanding and thinking about that one particular thing is, well, what is to transformations is authenticity is to experiences, that we call the new consumer sensibility, and figuring out what that is. So those are the sort of things I'm thinking about today.
Well, and since there is so many things that you can, talk about it, you have talked with so many people listen to you. How do you hope people describe you?
Well, I'll tell you how I don't want them to describe me, which is as a futurist. I always say, I'm not telling you what's going to happen. I'm telling you what's already happening, but you don't yet see it. And so the greatest compliment I get, though, and I just get it all the time, from when the original book came out to today, is something akin to, thank you for giving me a vocabulary to describe what it is that I do for a living. Right. So I think if people describe me as the person that allowed them to understand what they actually do and what that then means and how they can do it better and create more value for consumers, then that will be it. If I have a hard idea of in the future, like, after I'm gone, I'm hoping that people will say that this was the guy who helped business understand that its raison d'etre, its reason for existence, is fostering human flourishing. It's not making money. Profit is the measure of how well you foster human flourishing.
Wow.
That's a good way to look at it. Yeah. Well, you've already mentioned Wall-E, and I definitely agree that that's a scary scenario. It
Right.
looks fluffy, but it's really, really scary.
Yes.
Kind of the frog in the warming water, you don't notice until
Right.
you're in too far. And actually, it's one of the things we have been very insistent in our programs is that each person carries his or her own backpack, and actually a backpack for your week travel. And that, of course, leads to some discomfort for some people. Um, and we believe that is a good metaphor for
Right.
life. It's
Right.
kind of, well, we always say, well, imagine your backpack is your life. If you pack too many things inside, it will be too heavy and you'll be overburdened. But if you pack too light, you might be missing something. So you need to
Yeah.
find your own balance, and it's an individual balance, obviously. Um, but somehow we see that this little discomfort, this little area of being out of your comfort zone, really is determining for people to open up to a transformational experience. How do you think that our lives becoming so easy, and I wouldn't say even just because of AI, but things as Uber Eats and all
Right.
the many amazing things we have developed that make our lives so easy that we might actually lose touch with the benefits of a low hardship?
Yeah, I think that's true. But Nuno, my first question is does everybody choose to then pack their deodorant? I mean, that's what I want to know if we go on one of
Yeah.
these tours. Everybody does that?
Well, some people even take their hair dryers. Can you imagine?
Okay. Are they going to plug it
Well,
into a
well,
tree?
essentials are different for each person.
Right, exactly. What's essential? So, so yeah, I mean, the hardships are important. I got a kick out of there was a recent book review of one of the political characters or figures, I should say, in the U.S. And it talked about how this person, really grew up with a lot of money, but he kept trying to portray it as hardship, right? And then what I would say is then what I don't want is for other people to have this hardship as well. After he just said that it's the hardship that made me who I am, and I see that in others, like the being able to say like you had these hardships growing up, your mother had to work double jobs, right? Your father left, and I just want to make sure that happens to nobody else when that's who made them who they are, right? We only ever can truly become I don't know what the right term is, a fulfilled human being, maybe even a flourishing human being without hardship in our lives. We just don't have the right experience if that's the case. There's just no way that lack of hardship will warp you in some way.
Mhm.
100%. But for sure, one thing that help us all to go through the days, it's definitely music. So maybe Joe, this is a great opportunity to give us your third and last song.
Yeah, well, this relates directly to the answer to the question of what my what experience everybody should undergo. It's an old hymn. It's got sort of an Irish tune to it and part of the reason I love it, I just love the tune, right? Well, I won't sing it for you. You don't want that, but when they hear it, you can listen to the tune.
It
But it's
could be a
called "Be Thou
life-changing
My Vision."
experience.
And it's perfectly attuned with this. I didn't realize that when I picked it, because it's about walking with God, is what this is, what it's about from the moment of becoming a Christian to after life is over and then you dwell with God. I will say the first verse is "Be thou my vision, O Lord of my heart, not be all else to me, save that thou art. Thou my best thought by day or by night, waking or sleeping or walking, I'll add, thy presence my light." And so it's just it's a great way of thinking about walking with God, and it's a tune you can take on a walking trip with you.
Thank you, Joe. Let's listen to it. Well, thank you very much. I'm sure that our listeners, and we always advise them, this is the kind of podcast, kind of a walkcast. We really invite people to go out with their headphones and go for a walk with the podcast because the music usually helps. So we are entering the last stretch of our conversation, which honestly, I could go a little longer, but I would like to ask you, if you could take off on any adventure today, no constraints, time, budget, whatever, what would be and why?
The two thoughts are competing in our mind, but I think they can be combined. But I love New Zealand. I love the environment in New Zealand, and I'd love to just sort of like walk through much more of it than I have, particularly the South Island. I've only been there once, been the North Island several times. Combined with playing, the 100 best golf courses in the world, of which many of them are in New Zealand. So if we can add that into it and go for a walk on a golf course with my sticks, that would make it even better.
That's a
Sounds
first.
fun.
Love it.
Well, can you please tell us about a special place in your life, some place you really think of when you need to find your center, or some place your mind just wanders to naturally? You don't need to tell us the name, but you can describe it, or you can tell us the name, whatever you prefer.
Yeah. The place that comes to mind is actually Carmel, California.
Mm.
Number one, Pebble Beach Golf Course, which I played probably 10, 12 times. All events that I've spoken at. It's the most beautiful place in the world. Even out there, I've going walking on the beach with my wife below the golf course, spending time in the Carmel shops. It's also where the only the second time I ever got to see Dave Grusin live. Once was many years ago in the 70s, I think it was, maybe. No, it had to have been the 80s. And in Napa Valley amphitheater. And then he played the Monterey Jazz Festival. This was right before COVID, 2019, I think it was. He just turned 85 years old and playing. And it was one of the best vacations I ever had. People often say James Wallman of Time and How to Spend It says if you want memorable vacations, take short vacations. And him here for 2 weeks. And that was a 5-day vacation. It was memorable. Got to play golf, a couple of courses out there. Got to go to the Monterey Jazz Festival for several days, including being able to. The only reason we went, it was to see Dave Grusin and hear him play a little bit and talk a lot about his life and how he composes and so forth. So going back there, with my wife is a place that I love.
Oh, thank you. Thank you for sharing. Well, Joe, we are reaching the last question. It sounded to me that the time was flying too fast this time. But anyway, the good thing about recording a podcast with music is that you can listen as many times as you want. So
Yes,
I'm sure that there's so much to take away from this conversation and opening doors, hopefully to explore some of the beautiful books that you have written, and especially, I would say, something that is just coming out in just a month ago, right? A month and a half ago. So something really inspiring. So our last question is Nuno's favorite, but today I'm the one that I'm going to ask you. We asked the same question to all our guests, and we love the answers, honestly. So here it goes. If you had a time capsule, and it can be anything, no constraints of space, dimension, so you can place inside whatever you want, and once you put something inside or whatever, we'll shoot it into the universe, and who knows, maybe next year, maybe 1,000 years from now, someone or some entity will open up. What would you like to place inside this time capsule?
Well, what occurs to me is I would place copies of the experience economy and the transformation economy, right? And then I put a post-it note on them, and it would say, "Was I right?"
See, we always love these answers, not the question. The answers are always great. Well, Joe, thank you so much for this wonderful conversation. It was really, really inspiring and a lot of fun, actually. So we really appreciate you taking the time.
Super. Thanks, Nuno and Joao. It's great to be with you.
Thank you very much.
Keep Walking with Me. It is a podcast inspired by the walking mentorship experience. Step by step, we walk together towards the best version of ourselves. For more information about our mentoring programs, visit our website walkingmentorship.com.